Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics with your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Bringing you the charts, the pictures, the stories, the data that matters most in NFTs every single day. Lots to talk about today. Going to talk a bit about Opepen Editions, a cool AI pass that came out. And there were a bunch of interesting sales, so excited to show you all of those. Starting with a quick market overview, volumes were up a fair bit. This is largely because Wrapped CryptoPunks just had a huge day in terms of volume, and that filtered off a little bit into CryptoPunks volume on Larva Labs. Heavy Metal, that new project by Yuga in exchange for the sewer passes, also did over 2,000 ETH. So I think that's where the incremental volume came. In terms of looking at this CryptoPunks chart, ever since Punks came on to Blur, what you can see here is there's been over 30,000 ETH of volume in just the past week. That is the most 7-day volume that Punks have had over any stretch in over a year. So pretty impressive to see that. Not too surprising because we all know, that airdrop farming has a huge impact on volume, especially with a zero royalty project like CryptoPunks. Market share largely in Blur's court, 74% or so of ETH volumes were on Blur. Because this volume was in these high value NFTs though, you didn't see an increase in buyers. So buyers up a small bit versus yesterday, but still kind of on that downtrend that we've been in over the past week. In terms of prices, the large cap index was flat, but there are two stories here. One is that Punks were up, Bored Ape ecosystem was up a small bit, but Doodles, clones, and Moonbirds, as you can see here, continue to be very weak. The Doodles, clones, Moonbird basket, equal weighted over the past month, is down about 42%. So serious weakness in those three projects. Mid-cap index down about 2%. There was a lot of strength in Opepen Edition. I say a lot of strength, but it's off a pretty low base. So on a chart, you can't really see it. I'll show you that in a second. And then a little bit of weakness in Fluff, a kid called Beast, Cyber Brokers. Here's that Opepen Edition chart. What you can see is, this chart's basically been trending down, had a nice little, 0.05 ETH uptick yesterday. In terms of our projects, not a lot of volume. The top set here is Ceramics by Charlotte Dan. That one had 38 ETH of volume. Ceramics is the curated project that dropped on Wednesday. So new curated projects still finding its price point, getting a little bit of that follow on volume. Not much else really to speak of. Only 4 projects did more than 10 ETH of volume yesterday. Story number 2. Opepen Edition transparency time, using Jack Butcher's words. For a reminder, Opepen Edition is an open edition that Jack did, I believe it was free, and had about 16,000 mints just a couple months ago. And then when Jack said this could have some sort of PFP for our ecosystem, the price really shot up. The price went from something like 0.2 to 0.7 ETH in just a couple days. It's since tempered off a little bit at that 0.5 ETH level that I showed you. Now, what ends up happening here is Jack has said this a couple times, transparency time, and then he writes threads and basically just walks you through his train of thought. We still don't know exactly where this is going, but he gave us a couple hints yesterday of what he was thinking. Some of the things he said is he wants this to be the checks collector's PFP. But while he said that, he also said there'll be no checks requirement in order to own an Opepen. So who knows where that connection is, but I think broadly, he just wants this to be the PFP for people who are part of his ecosystem, for people who share his values. He talks about it should be a signal of participation, belief, enjoyment in the permissionless creativity economy, something he talks a lot about. We had him on the podcast, and a lot of these themes are themes that he did talk about when he was with us. One thing that came out of this was this Opepefy tool, where basically you can put an image or your PFP into this tool. And this was not created by Jack, it was created by someone else, but you can put a picture in and it will churn out an Opepen edition with the different colors, of your PFP or of the photo or of whatever you put in. I threw in my PFP and it came out with this image. I think it's pretty cool. Like that pink hair, like that yellow background that I have. A couple other guys, Thread Guy, awesome dude. He has his mutant and that's the Opepen edition that comes with it. My guy, OX Warning, let's talk about him again. He threw in a cartoon and came out with this Opepen edition. So the entire timeline was just filled with people who are doing this. A lot of really cool outputs, a lot of interesting things there. What Jack came and said next, this image here is all the different inputs next to the Opepens that were outputs of it. And what he talks about, and he talked about this on the podcast as well, is that what has made Visualize Value, his Instagram, so successful and so interesting and so consistent is this idea of just a very constrained set of outputs. You can just output this Opepen edition image just with different colors. And through that, there's a lot of cool stuff that kind of comes with it. He said that this could really be something interesting that they think is happening here. He's also talked about how PFPs, are some of the most valuable real estate there is. We've seen this in NFTs. It's just such an incredible marketing tool. So I know this is a space he wants to be in. And then the next thing he talked about is he just said a massively important thing. What they discovered was that the Opepen edition kind of Opepify tool that was created was used not just by NFT people, not just by PFP people, but also with photographs and all sorts of art, and his mind starts wandering again. So who knows where this is going? I think it's possible, maybe likely, that you're going to get a migration away from where, as it was with checks. With checks, you had to burn your check in order to get a new check. And that new check was the permanent on-chain check. And then the burn mechanisms came from 80 to 40, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we'll see something similar with Opepen, where you take your Opepen, where all 16,000 of them are identical, and maybe there'll be some mechanism where you turn it into something that's unique to you, your style. Who knows? I mean, this is all a mystery, and I think it's a mystery to Jack too. I think he's making it up as he goes, but certainly there's no one out there who has been more on top of the current ecosystem of the metas of the day than Jack. So very fun to see how it plays out. Third thing to talk about, a fellowship patron pass launches. Kind of interesting. I just started digging this into yesterday, but on trending on OpenSea, this was the number 3 project, did over 300 ETH in volume, and it's connected to some big players. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper. It's basically an annual membership pass, so 1 year of membership pass that gives people access to influence, rewards, and drops. But I think we have a concrete value of kind of where that value could be. First is a show that is happening in April. This is headlined and curated by Robbie Renisto. Okay, so that's the big thing. We know how it's going to be involved in Robbie Renisto. Now, Robbie Renisto, as we know, is dropping a new project. This is the artist, for those of you who don't know, behind Life in West America, which was one of the top braindrops projects ever. Came out with a total bang a month or two ago. The floor price went up to above 10 ETH. Now it's around 7 or 8 ETH, but really a successful 500-piece braindrops project. He's dropping another project, and that project is called Reworld. And it's quite similar to the other one in look and feel, but it has much more of society implications, much bigger picture, a little bit less personal and more on big picture societal issues. You can see here this image, obviously, he's quite jarring and says a lot, but then other images in it, just kind of more landscapey type of work and interesting type of stuff. Now, what does that have to do with the pass? Basically, so the auction is on April 6th. And the way that the pass is going to work is that the auction for this 500-piece new collection is going to start at 10 ETH, and it's going to be a Dutch auction down lower and lower until they sell all 500. But you're only going to get to bid on it if you have a pass, as long as it is 4 ETH or higher. Okay, so if people think that this is going to be an above 4 ETH NFT, then owning the pass will get you access to bid on it. To bid on it at the price. You can't bid on it if you think it's gonna be at that price or higher. So that's one of the rewards that is going to be with this pass. The second thing is that Robbie Renisto did a curation. He curated 10 artists, I believe, who are going to be dropping, 100 pieces each. It's 1,000 pieces in addition. This is after the Reworld launch, where each of these AI artists is going to be having 100 pieces, and people who own the pass are going to get access to this work for 0.1 ETH. Now, I did a little bit of browsing through the work that is going to be dropped in this project, and I think it is amazing. I love this stuff. This stuff, it started getting me thinking, okay, I understand the opportunity and the coolness of AI art. Let's just look at 3 artists who are going to be showing their work. One is this artist, Simon Rainan, all pink, it has this pink kind of Asian Korean sort of feel to it, but really kind of otherworldly, unique images that have this tie together, clearly not possible with anything but AI art, or really that seems like it's what makes it possible. This one's really cool. All these just crazy scenes, surreal type scenes in sort of real life environments, but Kate Morris, it's called Mindscape. Just really cool work there. Another project, Charlie Engman. This was called Funhouse Mirror. What I love about this is these are real people. They look like real people in a lot of ways. I love this one in the lower right, but then they connect it with something extremely surreal, like that completely inflated bunny or the horse on the couch. Another person who's just doing really interesting AI work. So I think this will be interesting. This is going to be a fun one to watch. Again, as far as that project goes, as far as the passes go, with the pass, you can buy one of those pieces at a 1/10 of 1 ETH auction. And then after that, if they aren't all bought, they will go to a 2/10 of 1 ETH auction for everyone else. And then there'll be other projects that the pass has access to in the future. I think 2 other kind of curated drops. So kind of interesting. We'll see how it plays out. I think the min price was around 0.2 ETH. It's since gone up to 0.8 ETH at the high end, floors in the 0.6 to 0.8 ETH range. So starting to price in that there's something interesting going on here connected to great artists, but very curious to see how this one plays out. Fourth story I want to talk about. Blur stops rewarding points for MG land. And this kind of came to a head yesterday, is airdrop farming of manipulated projects. MG land, what you can see here is it says that points are now disabled on MG land. You can no longer airdrop farm 4 points on MG land. Why did that happen? the basic playbook that they did was first you wash trade a lot of volume to get the project to the top of the Blur leaderboard. Blur rewards more points for high volume projects than for low volume projects. So a lot of these projects want to just get a lot of wash trading going on, trade with themselves, they get their own royalties, stuff like that. And the result is that their projects get to the top of Blur leaderboard and people get more rewards for farming them. Why do they want that? Because that half of 1% royalty with all the volume gets the project a ton of money. And that's really kind of the playbook here. Looking at MG Land, this is from about a week ago, but you can see here that there were about 12, 13 trades that happened at 33 ETH on this project. Now, if something's trading at 33 ETH, I know about that project. It's very rare that projects are having 10 trades at that price, and it's something we haven't even heard of. I mean, Azuki hasn't had sales at that price on a consistent basis for months and months. I mean, this is an out of control price for something we haven't heard of. Clearly what they're trying to do is get attention on the product via Blur. That within the next step that happens is that the project gets to number 3 on the Blur leaderboard. Everyone sees it, says, this is the project I need to farm. And then the next thing that happens is they do a ton of volume and you get a ton of royalties that go back to the project. Here you can see of all the projects, in the entire month of March, MG Land has done the 7th most of everything, and that just leads to the most royalties. Now, the problem with that, the big problem is that a lot of players participated. This year looks at of those top 12 projects, who had the most buyers, and there were 2,100 people, 2,200 people that bought MG Land just in March alone. So that's a lot of airdrop farmers who are stuck now holding the bag. And I think what Blur is trying to do is saying, we got to catch these things earlier. If these are projects that don't really have teams, don't really have roadmaps, that are really just out there manipulating volumes to get to the absolute top of the charts, that's not the type of stuff we want to reward people for trading. That was never the idea in the first place. Here's what happened. You can see MG Land, once they decided to start being an airdrop farming target, price spiked, and then as soon as that announcement came out yesterday, price went from 0.11 ETH to 0.05 ETH. A lot of airdrop farmers stuck holding the bag. This, my lesson here, and I think this is very important, only airdrop farm NFTs that you are comfortable owning yourself. You just don't want a situation where this happens with Blur and suddenly there's nothing left that gives the NFT any value at all. It's still happening. This is from today. You can see this project, Tori Zero, had a bunch of 35 ETH trades, Ether Pope OG, a 30 ETH trade, OSYC, some version of Yacht Club, a 36 ETH trade. A lot of projects, especially with fees so low, are now trying to do this to get to the top of volume charts. Sure enough, that Tori Zero that had all those trades, again, has people bidding a ton for their airdrops. So this is still going on. Just something to watch out for. Don't airdrop farm projects that you don't want to hold yourself. Last thing to talk about, let's talk about a bunch of notable sales. First, we talked about these yesterday. DeGods #1, formerly owned by Frank himself, sold for 3.25 Bitcoin, about 50 ETH. Now, interestingly, there was a guy on Twitter, and people have said this guy is real, who said, I will pay 100,000 USDC for this. So he missed the auction, and he's already bidding $13,000 more than what was actually paid. So a lot of interest in this Frank Ordinal Bitcoin NFT. Second sale to talk about, Door 11 by Matt Kane. We all know Matt Kane from Gazers. Yes, it was an 18.15 ETH sale. This project Doors is one that's only on Super Rare. The description is that it's created as an extension of investigating the door as a symbol in the artist life and broader culture. He uses generative paintings using his self-created digital studio software. Matt Kane uses his own created software, which is one of the things that makes him awesome. This project has had some high sales. So this one's at 18 and change. It's had sales, at 25 ETH, 28 ETH. So it's a little bit low the high end. Still a great sale for Matt Kane's project. Next sale, this is a pretty incredible sale here. This AI-generated nude portrait was sold for 260 ETH. The buyer was Mr. 803. The artist for this is Robbie Barrat, who is no longer involved in the NFT space at all. The basic history is that this was an AI-generated piece of a nude portrait from 2018. Gives you a feel of where AI was at that time. And the history, the story, is that these NFTs were given to 300 guests at a Christie's event, and they were given for free. And over time, most people didn't even claim them, didn't even know they got them. Only 40 out of the 300 have actually been claimed and put on Super Rare. Again, Robbie was the very first Super Rare artist there was, but it's kind of seen now as this grail because it gives us this flagpole of what AI looked like in 2018. Pieces started, selling at 0.1 ETH, very low prices back around when they were created, but over time, it just became higher and higher sales. In 2021, in the bull market, you saw sales as high as 7,700 ETH for these pieces. You've seen a couple above 1,000. So this 260 price, well below where we were a year and a half ago, but still a pretty incredible price for an NFT. So congrats to Mr. 803. Really interesting to see this one. And the last sale I want to talk about is this piece by OSF. OSF, of course, as you know, is the artist of Wreck Guy, also has a ton of very successful one-of-one sales. He created this full immersion, basically sound and visual project at 20 ETH that you can basically walk into a room and see the whole thing. You can also buy the NFT on OpenSea, which is kind of cool. I looked at his thread about how he wanted to do this. He basically wanted to portray city nightlife with all sorts of different aspects, bring in degen culture, bring in city life. One of the things he talks about is candle charts in the sky that oscillate from red to green, which is kind of cool to signify changing markets. To create the sound, he put a microphone that just captured sounds on the streets. And then within the image, there are all sorts of cool references to degen, to NFT culture. Here you can see Pepe Pawn Shop, and there's a whole lot more. This piece sold for 20 ETH, which was, I believe, the reserve price. Someone bid, and then it sold at that price. So congrats to the buyer. Congrats to OSF. Really cool art sale. That was awesome to see. That's all from me. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday and every weekday. If you do like the show, like it below, subscribe to the channel, comment, tell us what you think, and we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend.